I don't know how to start things. I'm not ready to start things, or I just haven't in a while. Okay. Guess what this was inspired by?
What?
Unsolved mysteries. I actually watched this episode a while ago, but it was a good one, you know? I didn't think it was going to be one. I had to read all the subtitles, but it was good. The episode is called House of Terror, season 1 of the new stuff on Netflix. You know.
I've not watched any of it.
And that's just an easier title for it.
Okay.
Okay, but anyways, let me try and butcher the family's last name this one time, and then we will move on from their last name at least. And I really don't even know. It says it so quick on TV, it's hard for me to understand to learn.
Yeah.
Dupont de Ligonnès. Probably wrong. I don't understand French.
It's fine.
So the family appears to go missing from their home at 55 Boulevard Robert Schumann in Nantes, France. The main theory being that the father/husband, Xavier, murdered his wife, and they have 4 children. They think that most of them were killed on April 3rd into the 4th, 2011, and then he saved one of his children for last a few days later. So it just seems to make most sense to describe the family first.
Yeah.
Really paint a picture here. Okay, so Xavier, again, he's the father, husband, maybe the prime suspect. We'll go down that rabbit hole as we get there. So he's born January 9th, 1961, and I think it's pronounced Versailles, France. I don't know. I'm too American for that. But he gets a degree in engineering, but then his job description is really vague. Basically, he's some kind of salesman or businessman of sorts. He just kind of starts up all these businesses. The one thing I read said they're targeted for traveling salespeople and restaurant guests. I don't really know. I'm not sure anyone really knows, but somehow it paid him money. Or so he wants us to think. But what we do know is that some of these businesses were secretive. And I don't know, just really ambiguous. Maybe he was sketchy. Who knows? And he came from a prestigious family. His father was a Count of France, and I didn't really know what that meant. And I tried to look it up, and all I could figure out is it's some kind of nobility ranking in France. I don't know how their government works. I didn't want to look into all of that. It didn't seem that important to the story, other than he comes from an important family.
It sounds about right.
Okay. So then he marries Agnes. She's born November 9th, 1962 in a little suburb of Paris. Her job, she's an assistant at a Catholic school. She's just, really into religion. She would always go to church with her kids. People called her traditional and conservative. But she was a nice lady. She was strict with the kids, though. You gotta be when you're popping them out.
Oh, yeah.
So Agnes and Xavier, they meet in the 80s. I don't know. In the documentary, their friend was like, oh, they met when she was 17 and he was 20. But I was like, that doesn't make sense if they were born 1 year apart.
Yeah, that's a
So
weird
as much as I could figure out from research, she was probably about 18 and he's only a year older than her. So I don't know. Their friend, he doesn't know. Okay, so they fall in love. It's a nice relationship, but then keep in mind, she's all traditional and conservative. Xavier breaks up with her because he was just like, I want to travel and go have adventures. Bye. I might be exaggerating, but I assume that's how it happened.
That's fine.
Mm-hmm. But he comes back after a year of travel and is like, I miss Agnes. But get this. He finds her pregnant.
Oof.
And it's not his. No. Because he's been gone for a year.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't look into this other guy that got her pregnant because it didn't seem relevant. But it wasn't really reported anywhere other than she was pregnant by someone else. So I don't know about that. But despite that, Xavier's like, let's just get married. I don't care that you're pregnant with some other guy's kid, And at that time, in the 80s in this little conservative town, that was just unheard of. You don't just You don't do that. You don't take care of that bastard child. No. But Xavier did.
What a guy.
Oh, this I probably put in a poor spot. Maybe I'll remember to come back to that. I hope so. Okay, so Arthur is a child that is born first to this other guy named Agnes. He's born on July 7th, 1990, but Xavier adopts him. And so Arthur takes Xavier's last name that, like really complicated words I can't handle saying. And by the time Arthur is 2 years old, Xavier and Agnes get married. Arthur, he's a smart guy. I don't know how schools in France work, but he, by the age of 20, which is the same age he was when he died, but by that time he gets his degree in industrial technology and sustainable development. And then he's going on to continue his education in IT at a private Catholic school. Arthur also works at a pizzeria. That just seems fun. Okay. Next child is Thomas. He's born August 28th, 1992. Okay, this kid's 17 at the time. And again, I don't know how schools in France work, because to me, I'm just like, wow, overachiever, because he apparently has a degree in literature. Okay, but Thomas, he has a passion for music, and so now he's at a Catholic university studying music. His peers describe him as like an ordinary kid, but they said that he's discreet, and I don't really know what that even means for a person, and that he was just shy and quiet. Okay, next kid. Anne, the only girl, she's born August 2nd, 1994. She was still in high school at the time. I believe she was about 16 at the time. She was focusing on learning like a science curriculum. She also was very into religion like her mom. And she was also modeling. And people were always like, wow, she's so beautiful. So she's like, okay, maybe I can make some money off this. I don't know. And then the last child, I think his name is pronounced Benoit. Again, I'm not French, and there's this little symbols, well, a symbol above one of the vowels. That's
it
confusing.
sounds correct.
Yeah, sounds French to me.
Yeah.
But I'm sure that's offensive coming out of my mouth now that I'm saying it.
Most things do.
Okay, Benoit. Whatever. He's born May 29th, 1997. They really didn't share, like, I couldn't find too much information on this kid, probably because he's just, the little young one. But he enjoyed playing the drums, and he was an altar server at their church, and I don't really know what that means. But he was involved in the church, too. Okay. So that's a little background on this normal-seeming family, Oh, hi, buddy. Buddy's just right up behind me now, staring at me. Okay. Perks of having your dog here. Hi. He's wagging his tail. Okay. So now we'll just lead up to the investigation,
Oh,
Okay.
yeah.
It's April 11th, 2011. A neighbor that was close with the family, she's just getting all nervous because she realizes on Monday afternoon the shutters of the house were all closed up, and that was unnormal for them. She said they had always opened their shutters. She walks up to the house. She sees that there's a note on the mailbox requesting that all mail stop being delivered to the house, and she said she just knew something must be wrong. She checks again the next day on Tuesday. The shutters are still closed. No sign of the family. Checks the next day on Wednesday. Same thing. She sees that the only car missing is Xavier's car, which is a C5. And I don't know. That must be a kind of French car. But it's a small sedan that wouldn't fit the whole entire family. So she just thought everything seemed strange. So this neighbor calls the police. On what I have is the 13th, the police go, they check on the house, they knock, the door's locked. Not that strange. No one's opening the doors, the shutters are still closed. So I don't know what proper protocol is, but the police just immediately request the service of a locksmith to come and unlock the door to let them in to check on what's going on in the house. Again, like same day. But they say that everything appears to be in place other than like the beds are missing their sheets. So police just are like, the family must have chose to leave. But then the neighbors are like, the family has 2 large dogs. Where are the dogs? Because the dogs aren't in the house. And they're like, there's no way that whole family and 2 dogs would fit in that car that's gone. Because the other car, or cars, I don't know, are all there. Okay. Now we're going to backtrack a little bit to April 9th. Because close friends and relatives of the family get some letters that are likely from Xavier. And this is pretty scandalous. Okay. I think the letters are all the same, but multiple people received them, is my understanding. It's hard because it was all in French with some translations, you know? So he said that he's linked to the U.S. through the international drug cartel, which is causing the whole family to have to leave their home in Nantes, France. He says they have to alter their identities for safety, and they will not be reachable. And I believe that the letters were all typed up, but at the end, it was just signed like Xavier, Agnes, Arthur, Thomas, Anne, Benoit. But it's all typed up. So they really don't know who sent the letters. But the people that received them were like, it just seems so out of character for Xavier and Agnes. It makes no sense. There's no way they could be involved in an international drug cartel thing through the U.S. That's just crazy. But again, there's no proof that he wrote it, and there's no DNA or anything on the letter, so they just have no idea. But here are some highlights from the letter. Okay, so Xavier, he says that the family, they have to leave and go to the U.S. immediately. They can't explain all the full details, but it's to keep them safe. So they can't communicate with each other anymore. He says he started a business in Florida in 2003 with the DEA, but something has gone wrong, and so now he's going to be a key witness in a trial about drug trafficking kingpins. Sounds a little out there to me. So naturally, it's a dangerous situation in the family. They need to take some emergency measures to keep their identity a secret. So they're going to the U.S. and they're going to be in the federal witness protection. But don't worry, it's okay. The U.S. government's going to take care of them. And as much as he can say is they're going to be someplace warm where the music is good. What does that even mean?
Who knows?
Florida? In his eyes? Joke's on you, it's not someplace good. Haven't you seen the news? That's just an insult to Florida as a state in the nicest way. Okay. So then in the letter too, he's like, well, the kids are upset because of how it's playing out, and they're forbidden from social media forever now to keep us all safe. Like, that seems suspicious too, you know? But I don't know. And then he said they had to give up the dogs because they couldn't take them, but they found a family that would take both the dogs. And that was a lie. But then it ends with like specific directions to each individual who the letter was being sent to and what they need to do to like take care of their belongings and whatnot. So it just seems strange. Okay. So the police, they're looking into all of these actions by the final actions that the family did. Most likely all by Xavier. So they see the lease on the house is terminated. All their bank accounts are closed. All the schools that the children go to get a final payment. And this part's kind of interesting. So Agnes's employer at the Catholic school or church, wherever, I already forget what I said she works at. Catholic something. They received a notice that she was having basically infectious diarrhea is what he went with.
That's
so gross. She could not come to work. I mean, it sounds like a believable excuse if you don't want to be bothered. Like, oh, I have infectious diarrhea. Leave me alone. I cannot come in. Just keep that in the back of your mind if you ever need to call off work for a dumb reason. But then the employer receives another notice that she's moving to Australia. Or then that note's found on the mailbox about like send all mail back to sender. And the house is just emptied out. There's no one in the house. So now we'll get into some more details. Okay. It's April 1st. I believe that was a Friday when I went back and looked it up. Arthur leaves his school to come home for the weekend and visit. It's the first of the month, so he has a paycheck to pick up at the pizzeria. But he didn't pick up his paycheck, and his boss was like, he would never miss a paycheck. Something's weird. The investigation finds that Xavier purchased some cement, a shovel, and a hoe that day. Seems like he's guilty. Just based on that to me. Okay. But now it's April 3rd. A neighbor reports seeing Agnes that day. But she also said that she saw Xavier putting some large bags into his small car. What are those large bags? I don't know. It's not what you think, most likely. Then the family scene, they go out to dinner, they go to the movies. Afterwards, it's about 10:37, and Xavier just calls his sister. He leaves her a voicemail. He's just chit-chatting, talking about the great night the family had together. And if she's free, she should just give him a call back if it's not too late, you know? Let's chit-chat. Maybe he wants an alibi. I don't know. Okay, so then it's Monday, April 4th. Anne and Benoit don't go to school. And the school is notified that they're not coming due to illness. And all their friends are like, oh my God, where are they? Let's text them. Oh, they're not texting us back. Let's call them. Oh, they're not answering their phones. That's weird. But then the friends are like, isn't there a rumor going around that the family's moving to Australia? That's strange. Why wouldn't they tell us that? I don't know. Xavier's sister calls him back, though, on Monday. And they just have a nice little sibling conversation for like 30 minutes. She said he seemed normal. I don't know. Okay. And then this part's a little iffy because some sources say some different things. But we'll just go with what I have here. It's believed that on Monday night, Xavier and Thomas are seen at a restaurant eating out at like 9 p.m. The staff of the restaurant recalls that Thomas felt sick and that the two of them were not talking to each other at all. So the theory is that Sunday night into Monday, Xavier killed his wife and the three kids, Arthur, Anne, and Benoit, but saved Thomas for now. But then it gets confusing because on April 5th, people are reporting seeing Agnes. A neighbor thought that they saw Agnes walking, and Agnes's hairdresser thought she saw her, but it didn't say that she like did her hair. It just said, I think I saw her. So maybe they're just confused. I don't know. But forensic experts admit that they don't really know the exact date of the death of the family. I don't know. I don't know how you do that. I'm not a forensic expert. Okay, but then this on April 5th, which again, this is where it's confusing. No, I don't know. We'll just go with it. April 5th is a Tuesday. Thomas goes to his friend's house to play music together. And the plan was that Thomas was going to just spend the night there. But then Thomas gets a phone call from his dad saying that your mom's in an accident. Come home. So Thomas goes home. And then the next day, his friend texts him to check in. And he gets a text back from Thomas's phone saying, I'm not coming to yours. I'm ill. And then a second texting, really ill. I'm not coming to class. The neighbors also reported that they heard the dogs howling for 2 nights in a row, which was unusual. And then they never heard the dogs again. So I don't know. Timeline's a little iffy about the events because people think they saw people. I don't know. Again, they don't exactly know what night Xavier or someone murdered the family. Okay. But then April 6th, Arthur's girlfriend was like, he never came back to school. Strange. It's been like 6 days. So she goes to the family's house. She knocks on the door. And there was a light on, like someone was home. And she said normally the dogs would bark from a knock, but there was no dogs barking. If you can't guess where this is going, it's not good, not good, not good for the dogs, too. Okay. April 7th. Another neighbor reports that they see Agnes walking the dog. One of the dogs, I don't know. Claims that they had a conversation. So I really don't know then. Because again, the previous day, the girlfriend of Arthur was like, no, like, there's no dogs barking. Doesn't seem like anyone was there besides the light was on. I don't know. Things are vague in the timeline. Okay. But then by April 11th, so a letter sent to Anne and Benoit's school saying they're not coming back to school. They're moving to Australia for urgent professional changes of Xavier's. And then Agnes's job that same day receives a letter saying that she's quitting for the same reason and moving to Australia. And her boss is like, this is so strange. I'm going to call her, but can't get a hold of her. And then that evening, Xavier checks into a hotel, pays with his credit card, and is seen leaving in his own car. The next day, he checks into a different hotel. This time he uses a false name, but he's still paying with his own credit card. Okay. Checks into another hotel. Next day, checks into another hotel, takes some money out of an ATM, and he is recorded on CCTV. So they can kind of trace his whereabouts. On the 15th, he checks out of the last hotel of this little run of random hotels, which are all throughout France. He's just driving all around. They see him on CCTV footage, like, leave the hotel, just walking away, doesn't get in his car or anything, leaves his car behind. He's carrying, like, a rifle bag, too. That will be important later. On the same day, the police go back to search the house. This time they notice there's all these frames on the walls, but there's no pictures in the frames. But nothing really seems suspicious. Just seems like there are missing pictures. So they go back on April 18th, April 19th, and April 20th. They just keep checking the house. They're like, maybe we'll find a clue this time. By the 19th, they do open an actual investigation. And so they're like, let's start looking into Xavier a little more. On the 21st, they go back to the house. They issue a wanted notice for the whole family. I assume it was like a missing persons kind of thing. And if you see them, let us know. But okay, police are back at the house. The police lieutenant goes out back. There's like this little terrace on the backside. And he realizes there's a good sized gap underneath. And he's like, I'm going to check it out down here. And he's just motivated to start digging. He starts digging. He finds large plastic bags that are all taped together. Guess what's inside the bags? Dead bodies.
Wow.
Okay. So they dig out these bodies. There's this one big grave. And that has the bodies of Agnes, Arthur, Anne, and Benoit. And then once they open up the bags with the bodies, all the bodies are wrapped in sheets. Probably they're missing like bedspreads and stuff. And then there's this like little religious item next to each body, like wrapped with it. Like a cross or like a little, I don't know what all the things were. They were like little figurines. Then they keep digging. In a separate grave, they find Thomas wrapped up. They also find the two dogs. I'm not sure if they were in the same graves or not. It didn't really say. But the dogs are also dead and buried. And that just seems worse than killing the family. I don't know. Maybe it's because I don't have children, so I can't relate to that. But guess whose body isn't under the terrace? Not Xavier's. Seems suspicious. So now they're like, he's the prime suspect. Naturally. Okay. The next day, so April 27th, 22nd, whoopsies, they find his car at whatever hotel he left it at. Autopsies are done on the family that day. This is also misleading. I don't know. It said that each family member was drugged, and then they were shot with a .22 long rifle in their sleep. But then a different source says that Agnes, the mom, had no drugs in her system. So, I don't know. Maybe just the kids were drugged. The prosecutor, they just were like, let's get the family buried right away. Right after the autopsy. They were like, we don't want the relatives looking at these bodies anyways. They tell the family not to come looking at them. This leads Xavier's family, like his side, to be like, it might not have been Agnes and the kids then. We don't get to see the bodies. We don't believe that it's them. Which I'm pretty sure it's confirmed that it was them. And I think they were just trying to spare them from seeing their like grandkids and stuff all with bullet holes in their heads. Could be wrong though. I don't know. But on the other hand, Agnes's side of the family was like, Xavier was all kinds of strange, and Agnes wouldn't have just left the kids and moved without notice like Xavier's letters were claiming. So they were like, he must have done it. He's a weirdo. So they release an international arrest warrant for Xavier. Okay, now we have to backtrack a little bit. Again, because I really have to paint the scene here. It's January 2011. Xavier's fancy count father dies. So he's like, I'll go clean out the apartment. They think that he was just searching, trying to find like whatever money his dad may have left behind, but he doesn't find it. But guess what he finds? A .22 caliber long rifle, which is the same exact weapon that was used to kill the family. That they can confirm. So then in February, Xavier gets his firearm license. And his friends were like, he wasn't really into weapons. Not until he got that gun. Then he got really into it. So then a month later, it's March. He starts buying bullets. He buys a silencer for the gun, which he says, you know, you need the silencer for shooting in downtown Nantes. And I just don't understand how that works, but I'm not in France. I don't know. He signs up to go to shooting range, and documents show that he went at least 4 times between March 26th to April 1st. He starts taking Thomas and Benoit to shoot, and he was going to take Arthur, but Arthur just wasn't at home, you know, because college. And then they find a receipt. I don't know. They said it was either from March 23rd or March 30th. I'm not sure how they can't figure it out. But one of those 2 days, he bought a large bin, or a roll of large bin liners, and some paving slabs. I don't know. I assume that's for, you know, digging under the terrace to hide your dead family. You know, hide the bodies, wrap them up. Okay. So now when they're investigating, though, here's maybe a reason why it wasn't Xavier. But what do I know? Under the terrace, that area, the little area is pretty low. It would probably be challenging to dig some graves for 5 people and 2 dogs. Xavier's like close friends and his family said that he had really severe back pain, and it would have been impossible for him to bend down and dig under there. So he couldn't have murdered his family. But maybe he just suffered through the pain because he killed his family and had to hide them. I don't know. So again, the whole family was killed by gunshots and none of the neighbors heard. I mean, he did buy a silencer, they said. So I guess it was because of that. I don't know. I guess though it'd be quiet, so you wouldn't wake up the rest of the family. Whatever. And all the dead bodies, all the kids and the wife, they were all in their pajamas still, as if they were definitely killed while they were asleep. And then they said, this is why they think that Agnes and the 3 kids were murdered Sunday night into Monday. She had a sleep apnea mask, and they found, I don't know how they work, but they can find that it stopped right at 3 a.m. on like Monday morning, 3 a.m. So that's why they think they were killed then, as if, you know, she was the first one. Boom, you're dead. But then this is strange, you know, 5 murder victims and 2 dogs. There's no traces of blood found like anywhere in the bedrooms or in the house. But he did wrap them up in the sheets, so maybe that contained all the blood. I don't know. What they can confirm is that Thomas, the one son, was definitely murdered at a different point. But how come? I don't know, but the main theory is that Xavier probably viewed him as the oldest since he adopted the actual oldest child, Arthur. So for Xavier, Thomas was his oldest. And maybe he just loved him more and was hesitant about killing him. But then was like, no, I already killed the rest. I better kill him too. Here's where it gets a little fun. Okay. So Xavier was confirmed to be this like member of some Catholic forum thing online. And in 2010, he starts posting these questions about what's the meaning of sacrifice. And then he starts getting all aggressive in the forum. So they ban him from it. He gets kicked out. But some sources say he didn't go to church with the rest of the family. He never even walked in. It was just Agnes's thing with the kids. So it's back and forth if they think his motives were religious or not. And he did have those little religious items next to each of the members of the family. But the theory is that it probably wasn't some kind of religious sacrifice burial thing. It was maybe just him trying to be a nice murdering husband and was like, my religious family might like these little religious thingies with them. Beats me. He's probably just nuts. Okay. The investigation digs into all these businesses that Xavier starts to open. And guess what? It turns out most of them are failing, and he's actually pretty unsuccessful. So maybe he was just like running out of money, didn't find any money from his dead dad. Maybe he was too ashamed of being broke, so he's like, I'll just off my family. But what do I know? So then investigators are like, typically, when a father does this family massacre crap, he then kills himself almost immediately. And they see, he keeps checking into hotels, driving around, using his credit cards. It's like he's not trying to hide from killing his family. So they're like, he must be then going to kill himself if he's not trying to hide. And again, that the CCTV footage just sees him taking off, walking into the woods with the rifle bag. So they're like, wow, he's walking into the woods to go kill himself. Makes sense. Unless that's what he wanted us to think, because they can't find his body anywhere in the woods where he walked into. I can't stop burping. Whoa. I almost unplugged myself from the red box. Oh no. I did something.
What'd you do?
I don't know. I lost hearing again for a little bit, but it seems fine now.
Okie dokie.
At least on my part. Okie dokie. Where am I at? Okay, so yeah. These woods where he walks into. All they see from the CCTV footage is that he's carrying like a rifle bag. He's got to bring that gun anywhere he goes. So nothing else. So they're like, makes sense that he's going to go kill himself. But they can't find his body. And they believe that by entering the woods, there's just multiple ways he could escape. I guess you can, from those woods, walk into Italy. I don't know. Or you can come out at different points. He could then get to an airport or a train station or a bus station. But there's no purchases of any kind of ticket under his name. So unless he somehow was able to do it all under a false name. But probably doesn't look great if you're just taking a rifle bag and nothing else onto any kind of transportation. I don't know. But most people still believe that he's alive and that he probably relocated to Latin America because he was, I don't know if he was fluent, but he spoke Spanish well. They also said he'd fit in. He has dark eyes and dark hair. I didn't say it. That's just what the people say online. They also don't like, and I would agree, they described him as an average looking guy who could blend in. There were a lot of pictures of him with like a full head of hair, a beard, shaving the head, shaving the beard. He was just your average looking guy with brown hair and brown eyes. So, okay. Since 2011, the investigation has had over 800 tips. They all keep leading to dead ends. They just don't know. But here are some fun ones that you would think would lead somewhere. In June 2013, they find a dead body about 12 miles from where Xavier was last seen. But this is confusing too. It's probably not him. The autopsy said that we couldn't confirm that it's not him, but we're going to declare it not him. So they said dead end. I don't know. Okay, April 2015. Bones were found along the southern coast of France, which was also kind of close to where he was last seen. Investigators search the area. They find a survival-like camp that's all set up there. So they're checking it out. There's an empty wallet, a lighter, there's a pair of glasses, a sleeping bag, a magazine from 2010, and a bill from 2011. I assume they mean like a cash bill, but I don't know. The bones, so the forearm one, there's a medical pin in it. And as far as they can tell from like medical records of Xavier's, he did not have any medical pins in his arms. But they're like, well, we'll just test the DNA on these bones. And then they could conclude it was not Xavier's. And they don't know who the bones belong to. So, dead end again. Some other dead guy. Okay, June 2015, a journalist in Nantes receives a photograph of Arthur and Benoit sitting at a table. And the back of the note had a handwritten message saying, "I'm still alive." But no one knows who sent the picture. So that seems a little bit suspicious. Or it could just be a weirdo that maybe knew them. I don't know. You hear stuff like that sometimes in the news. Maybe it's fake news. Okay. In January 2018, this one's good. There's this, I think this is in France still. There's a little village and multiple people are reporting seeing Xavier there. So investigators go to the village. The village contains like a place where monks go to just, do their monk-like things. And most of the monks had taken a vow of silence, which made the investigation really difficult because they couldn't talk to the monks. But they could talk to them. The monks just wouldn't respond. But eventually they figured out the man that everyone thought was Xavier was just a monk who had a similar resemblance. But it was not Xavier. Okay. And then in October 2019, a man was arrested at a Scotland airport because he looked like Xavier. Authorities were certain it had to have been Xavier at the time they arrested this guy. So they do a DNA test on him. And when the results come back, guess what? It's not Xavier. It was just some old man trying to fly back home to Scotland, coming from France. He said he was just visiting family and wanted to go home. So who knows where Xavier is now? He probably killed his whole family. I don't know why. But it's quite the story.
It sounded like he just killed everyone, walked into the woods, and vanished.
Disappeared.
It's pretty great.